Hello, I'm going to be explaining the Scrabble lab. Let's go through the documentation first. Go through the objectives, and let's see what we want to do, and then we can get started coding. So first, like always, just don't copy this code. This is to help you if you get stuck somewhere, so that you kind of have something to bounce off of if you're missing an idea, and you just want some way to maybe try to explain it to you. So that's what I'm hoping to accomplish with this video. But okay, what is this lab supposed to do? We're supposed to have a function, and we're supposed to use it in the main function, and we're supposed to work with strings. So we're gonna have strings somewhere, and develop algorithm and pseudocode from a defined scope. I don't really know what that means, but basically, I'm pretty sure we just need to check the points and see. Here we go. Two people enter a question, two people enter a word, and the program tests to see which word has a higher value based on this list, where it will go through every letter, and then depending on the value of the letters and how many letters were used, it adds up all of the scores from each letter, and then whichever one has the highest score in the end wins. And if they're tied, then it should be tied and should account for lowercase and capital letters being the same thing. So that's probably going to be a 2 lower. Okay, so we need to use this points array thing right here. They give us the code, so might as well just put that in there. And we're going to need to create a function using that. And then they already give us this main function. So, and then they give us the function too. Okay, so let's get started. We are going to put it in chapter 2, so scrabble.c. So let's make that then. Scrabble.c. Don't forget to put yours in chapter 2. I don't really think it's too much required, but yeah. We're going to include our modules. Right now we just need these, but it might change in the future. And now let's just copy all the stuff that they gave us. So our main function should look like this. We need to make a declaration for the function at the start of the program before the main function. Right there. That's important. And then we need to define the function. You can put this over here, but I would recommend putting it down here because it just looks nicer. If you wanted to put it up here, then I would recommend just doing it like that, because you don't need to what do you call that again? You don't need to define it. You don't need to declare it. You don't need to declare it if you just define it off the go. Defining something includes the I can't say that word. You know what I'm talking about. It includes both. But if we put it at the bottom, then we need to declare it first, so that when we run into our main loop, it knows what we're talking about. Okay, so we have all this stuff, and now we just do the to-do, and then we should be good. And this is kind of like a mistake. It should be like that. But let's get started on the to-dos and see what we need to do. So declare variables, it kind of just does that for us. So get input from words. Probably just use... Okay, well, we're getting a word, so that means we're going to use a string. So let's make that word1 equals get string. And then player 1. Let's just copy that, paste it for word 2 and player 2. So this should ask for a player 1 word and a player 2 word when we run the program. Okay, so let's go on to the next to-do. Call computer score for both words. So it's going to be something like this, since we need to call it. And save result to variable score 1 and score 2. So score 1 is going to be computer score as well as score 2. But what do we put into the functions? Well, compute score is going to give us an integer, and it's going to take a word, which means that we probably need to use our words from up here. So let's put word 1 and word 2. So what this is saying is score 1 is going to be set to whatever this comes out to be. And so this will, in the program, skip to the function part in which it'll do all this code, and then what actually will be outputted from the function will be whatever we return. So after we do this, we just need to compare the two scores and print the winner. So like if score 1 is greater than score 2, then we know that player 1 wins, because score 1 is player 1 score. For the same reason, if score 2 is greater than score 1, then we know that player 2 will win. If none of them are and score 2 equals score 1, then it's going to be tie. And we could have just have an else, could just do an else there, but I feel like this would be easier to read. Okay, so it seems like we're done with our main loop, and now we just need to focus on working on the function. What are we going to do in there? So we need to compute the score of a word, and it's supposed to return the score. So let's take a word like A. Very complex word. How many points should this be? Well, if we look at the documentation for the corresponding letter and point values, we can see that A is equal to 1 point. So this should be 4. But how do we do this in a program? Well, I feel like my way to do this, what I would probably do is I would go one by one, testing each of the letters and seeing what it is, and then adding to a total sum the score of that. And the main problem with that, like the biggest problem we need to solve, is how do we index this and know that A corresponds to 1 point over here. So they give us this integer array, so let's just put this in right now. We're going to use this, but we don't really know how to like what even is this? What letter does this correspond to? How would we know to put 1 in for whatever letter this is? And so we need some way of doing that. And well, if we create another array where we just have the alphabet A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, W, X, Y, Z. Okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Okay, that should work. If we have just an array of these, then we could do like array of 0. Array of 0 in this array would be like A, and that would correspond to the same place in points. So the place for Z would correspond to the place in the points. And so if we found which place or like what letter it is that we're testing for in the word, then we would know that the position in the point array. That might not make too much sense right now, but let's just try coding it and see if it And let's try to see if that makes sense. So strings are just another version of a character array, so we can use that. What do we want to name this? Alphabet? No, let's just name it letters. And then we need to make something that'll test through each letter of the word that they gave. So let's do a for loop for that. So integer x equals 0, x, it will run through how many times? This is the length of string, so string length of word, and then x plus plus. Okay, so we introduce string length. So now we need to probably include that function at the top. What is that? I think that is string.h. Okay. And so now we're going through each letter, and let's just define the letter is equal to the word, but the position is x. So when the for loop is on the first run, x is going to be 0, so it's going to be the first letter of the word that they gave. If it's on x is 1, or the for loop is run twice, then it'll be the second word. So that makes sense. One thing that we should account for, though, is that we need to make sure that capital and lowercase doesn't matter. Let's see if we can find that. Yeah. So over here it says wiener with like some weird capitalization. So we need to make sure that that is like red in our string thing. So to do that, we probably just want to lower of the word. But to do that, we also need to import the function C type. Could be wrong. But now this will, for each time it loops, it should give us just which letter it's on currently in the for loop. And we probably need to introduce this. What do you call that? Declare it at the start so that the program knows that it's a character. Now that we got which letter we're on, we can just go through each of the letters in the letters, and whatever it is, it'll stop on that one, and then it'll return the proper points thing. Okay, let's just run through this. So we need to do for int, let's use a different variable, y equals 0, y in string length of letters. We could do 26 here, but that's just easier to think about in my opinion. Y plus plus. And then we need to do if letters y equals letter, then we good. So what does this mean? Well, it tests every letter in the alphabet, and once it finds the letter that is equal to the letter that we're currently on, then we know that that's the place in the index, and y is going to be the same place in the points index. So the points to add will be points and then y. I don't really like how that's capitalized, so I'm just gonna lowercase that. But now we just need to count up all those points, and then we can just return it at the end. So let's go integer points, point, score. I don't want it to be too similar to points, so that's not confusing. We do equals 0 at the beginning, and then we can just add that point value that we found into the score. Score plus equals points, or score plus, or score equals score plus points. And at the very end, we just need to return score. Kind of did. Okay, there we go. Let's just. Oh, what did I do? Actually, that looks pretty cool. Can I like skip? Nope. Okay, I'm getting distracted. Let's just run this. Let's see if it works. Make Scrabble. If this works, then I'm gonna be very surprised. What the hell? It actually. Okay. Let's do something very easy to think about. A. This will give me a point score of 4 because A is equivalent to 1 point. And player 2, let's do Z, and that'll give me point score of 40. So player 2 wins. So it works. The only thing that we kind of need to do is we need to print a new line for these. Forgot to do that. But it seems like it works. This is a surprise. I usually never do it first go. Make Scrabble. Let's do something more wonky. And then just for security's sake, let's do a bunch of Z's so that we know that player 2 will win. Player 2 wins. Damn. Let's test for tie. Abacadabra. Ba-acadabra. Tie. And now for player 2, 1 to win. CZ, A, Q. Player 1 wins. It works. Okay. So this is probably the function part is probably the most complicated because we have a for loop inside a for loop, and inside that for loop is an if loop. But you could maybe do this without all of this, and you could just go through each of the letters individually. That'd be very annoying though. But that's something you could do. But yeah, this seems to work pretty good. Let's just go through it one last time. So we need all of these modules, especially the string and the C type. The C type is for 2 lower, and the string is for the, what is it for? The string length. So let's go through this. We need to define it at the start, because if we don't declare what this is, then when we call it over here, it's going to be like, huh? I've never heard of that before. What are you talking about? So we need to at least mention what this is and that it's a function before we can call it. And then no matter where we put the actual definition of it, it should run fine. So we define our variables, string or score and word. Word 1 we get, word 2 we get with a get string. Score 1 equals compute score. Score 2 equals compute score. So this is the function that we coded, and inside or world you put a variable which is a string, and we're putting in word 1, and word 1 will be used and in the function stored as word. Okay, and so then we just compare which score is bigger, which score is smaller, and then depending on that, we print which person will win or if they will tie. For the function, we need to get the points array, and you could probably do this program without this part, but I feel like it's less lines, so. And then we introduce the letter. You probably don't need this too, actually. It's just tiny bit easier to think about because we only use it in 3 places. And then this will test for each of the letters in the word. So if it's like long word, the first time it loops, it'll be L. Second time, O, N, G. So for G, or let's just do L. For L, it will set the letter to L because that's where we are right now. And then it'll run this for loop 26 times. And then it'll only add the score if the letter over here, L, is equal to where the place is on the string. And then based on where the letter, equal letter, is on the string, then we know from that, using Y, where it will be on the points array. This is probably the hardest part to get, but hopefully that made sense. The Y will be increasing 1 every time we run this for loop, and so this will like act as the way we index points, and that's why we're implementing that. And then at the end we just return score, and we done.